Welcome back, PetaPixel viewers. Chris Niccolls here. Look at this brand new Sony G Master FE 300mm f2.8. It's beautiful, it's compact for a 300. We're going to take it out to the Inglewood Bird Sanctuary and see if we can find some animals on such a miserable day. Well, my mustache is going to look like that in about 10 minutes, Jordan. So it's snowing, and why are we shooting on such a terrible day? Well, we only have this lens for a very limited window. We gotta shoot when we gotta shoot, and this is actually gonna be the best day we have in the next week. It's gonna be just frozen nightmare land. So anyways, I hope some birds come out to play. Of course, being a G Master, the 300mm f2.8 is fully weather sealed. We're certainly gonna put that to the test today. So I always love using a 300mm f2.8. I find them very versatile. I mean, first off, excellent for shooting distant objects where you just really want to compress the foreground and background. I also like them for wildlife and sports. I mean, it gives you that reach, but it also gives you that bright aperture, especially like indoor sports. It's very useful. And having that bright aperture also means that you can use teleconverters to extend that distance when you need that extra reach. So they're also not $15,000 like a 600mm f4. That's a nice touch as well. And I can even carry them around all day. So very handy lenses in general. So I think the first thing I need to point out is just how compact and small this lens is. I mean, with the hood off, you can see it's basically the size of a 70 to 200 2.8, very small, and it weighs very little. I mean, we're looking at 1,470 grams. I mean, that's basically a plena and a half. And if you look at the SLR comparisons that are available, I mean, the Canon EF 300mm 2.8, that's basically roughly 2.5 kilograms. That's a whole other plena on top of it. And then you look at the Niccolls 300mm 2.8 AFS, you're looking at almost 3 kilograms. I mean, a knocked and a plena. So this actually saves you a ton of weight. Now the lens collar here, it's always attached. It doesn't have détentes at 90 degrees, just little indicator marks. I do like having the click stops, whatever. But I can remove the tripod foot here. Sadly, it's not cut for Arca Swiss dovetail, but with this removed, that's where I get my 1,470 grams, and frankly, that's so light, I'm just gonna hand hold this the rest of the day. So at the frontal lens, we've got multiple custom function buttons, as you'd expect on a professional telephoto. Nice manual focus ring here. I do like also that we have a customizable control switch, so I can use this to push to the right or push to the left to select different options. I like that feature, or you could use this as a custom control ring for aperture, something like that. Nice controls here, autofocus, manual focus, dynamic manual focus like you see on Sony's. We have a limiter from 6 meters to infinity to speed focus up when you're shooting sports and action far away. This is an image stabilized lens, and as usual, we got our 3 modes. We don't have any filters in the front of this lens, but we do have an internal 40.5mm insertable filter in the rear, and a nice lens hood that comes with it. Just one click button, easy to take off. So let's talk about autofocusing here. Now the minimum focusing distance on this lens is roughly just under 2 meters from the focal plane. It's not that close focusing lens, and therefore not like a great macro lens. Let's just get that out of the way. But as usual with G Master telephotos, we've got dual XD linear motors. They're very quick, they're very silent. As you can see here, super snappy from minimum distance to infinity. You'll have no problem tracking sports, action, and wildlife with this lens. We're sure not gonna get flare examples on a day like today. That, but luckily we did have opportunity to get some other examples already, and we're going to talk about that next. So first off, as usual, flare is very well controlled by the Sony's lens coatings. No issues with loss of contrast or anything. Here you can see that there's also no ghosting at all, really. I mean, even stopping down the lens, we don't have any ghosting issues. So overall, this lens handles shooting towards bright light sources very effectively. Okay, let's talk about bokeh next. So first we take a look at specula highlights here. You can see shooting wide open at f2.8. There's some cat's eye, but it's not bad. Stopping down the lens, it's a little bit more polygonal than I expected out of a G Master, but it is still very round as lenses go. Not really seeing a strong soap bubble effect, no onion rings or anything like that. And that's very important because a lens like this, you're gonna have a lot of out of focus areas. I mean, these are designed for shallow depth of field, especially when you're looking at sports and wildlife. You want a soft, smooth background. What the Sony G Master 300 really does deliver is that nice smooth transition from out of focus to in focus to out of focus again. That's very desirable in a lens like this. Let's go to our test chart now. We're going to take a look at sharpness. So first off, looking at the 300mm in the center shooting f2.8, stunning detail. I mean, just very sharp, very good contrast. Stopping down to f5.6, I see only the barest improvement in contrast. It's already excellent shooting wide open. Going to the corners, it's a similar story. You can see here shooting at 2.8 in the corners, very sharp. Stopping down, I really didn't notice much difference. And just as a side point, whether you're focused in the center or the corners, your field is nice and flat. You're basically focused right across the entire frame. You know, as far as sharpness goes for wildlife sports, I mean, I can zoom all the way in and I'm just getting tons of detail. This is easily one of the sharpest lenses we've ever tested. Certainly the sharpest 300mm 2.8 mirrorless that I've ever used. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, none of the other major full-frame manufacturers make a 300mm 2.8 lens for their mount. So Sony is now the first to do it, and that's great news. It makes sense, I guess, that Canon and Nikon are expecting you to still use their SLR lenses, which are in circulation with adapters. The only other thing that comes to mind, Fujifilm do make a 200mm f2, which is a beautiful lens as well, and would be very equivalent to this lens in terms of its full-frame focal length. I've even shot with that Fujifilm 200mm, and it's a beautiful lens. It's optically fantastic. But even that, made for an APS-C size sensor, is 2.2 kilograms. I mean, what Sony has done here is not only made an incredibly sharp lens that's in a very useful focal length, but also have made it very compact and very lightweight. I have no idea how they did that, but Sony G Masters lately have just been on a kick of being optically fantastic and also very compact. No matter what, this is a professional lens, and it is an expensive lens, no doubt. But the fact of the matter is, all the SLR lenses are going to be hovering around that $6,000 mark. This lens also does as well, so it's very comparable in price to what we'd expect. It's fantastic optically, and it's small. I think Sony have a real winner here. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Click like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We would absolutely appreciate it. This is a great time to do it right now. And while you're looking for where to click that button, also have a look at our podcast. It's on the exact same YouTube channel here, or go to all your favorite podcasting apps. Just look for PetaPixel Podcast. Be sure to leave your comments there as well. We love to answer those on the show. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of PetaPixel. We'll see you soon.